Hi, I'm Mark Mullinex, Professor of Religious Studies at Mars Hill University in North Carolina. I've recently published through Fortress Press a new translation of Tao Te Ching, and it's subtitled Power for the Peaceful. Welcome to this first in a series of Tao Talks I'm calling Sounding the Tao. These talks will go deep. To sound is to investigate deeply. And so I'm going to talk about what is the essence of our nature. What is our nature as human beings, and is that nature different from nature, capital N, itself? In society, we're cultivated by culture, and we can become unquestioning followers of views of the world produced by that culture. But are these cultures not synthetic, alien from capital N, nature itself? So what is our nature before human culture imposed, affected, infected, and synthesized our behavior, our thought patterns, our habits? Taoism says we're part and parcel of capital N nature and emerge from it, like leaves from a tree, prior to our membership in human nature. The Taoist is going to unknot the manipulative bindings of culture and verse them, all their synthetic laws, morals, and codes. She will reverse the synthetic verses and stories that we have come to believe. So Tao is complete, uncarved, unvarnished nature that we are already a part of before we became an American or a male or a believer. What is our original nature? These talks will sound the Tao. We will investigate, fathom, ascertain, and seek to spotlight those artificial parts of ourselves, or those chains that chain us and bind us. And hopefully we can reverse or restory what living Tao means. Thanks for coming by. Today's topic is the what, the when, the where, the who, and the how of Tao. At 5,000 characters, the 2,500-year-old Tao Te Ching text begins with a warning against all attempts, including this one by me today, to frame the Tao with words. It's kind of like that second of the Ten Commandments, the one which commands us not to represent God with any created thing, including words. Yet we do, wink, wink. The text we know of as Tao Te Ching has this story as its beginning. The purported author is Lao Tzu, whose name means Old Master. He was an official in the imperial archives of China. As the story goes, one day he grew tired of his life in China and sought to travel abroad. At the Hankou Pass, the border guard recognizes this wise man, and that Lao Tzu was about to leave the country with all his wisdom. What a loss that would be! So the guard implored Lao Tzu, before he immigrated, to leave behind his wisdom. And the manuscript that Lao Tzu wrote has come down to be what we understand to be Taoism's primary text. It is the most translated spiritual text in the world after the New Testament for Christians. However, with this one significant difference. There is no evangelical push by Taoists to get the Tao Te Ching into the hands of everyone in the world, like a Christian might want for her or his scriptures. So, without this evangelical impulse, Tao Te Ching remains a very popular work. There are hundreds of translations, none of which is sponsored by anything that we would call Taoist. This text must still be speaking to millions of people today. In this introductory Sounding the Tao talk, let's speak to the essential nature of Tao. But there's a grand and mysterious tradition here at work, very mysterious. Keep silent about what is most important. Let Tao remain unsullied by human definition. Because once something is defined or named, we can claim that we have discovered it. And we can map it out with words and concepts and basically hold it prisoner to our concepts, categories, our languages, and thus our prejudices. Something like Tao has been called the Force in Star Wars. It's been translated as the way, the path, flow, even connection. None of which are definitive markers, but they each have traces of imprecision about them, which I love. This grand and mysterious tradition I just spoke about is not very well understood by most readers, for we like to have things nailed down, defined, controlled. but not Tao. Tao connects with everything. It connects everything with everything. It eludes definition and control. It is unpredictable. It's as unpredictable as your next thought or your dreams tonight. But it always flows without our permission. Maybe a bad example is like your saliva. But without your desire, Tao is there. So to talk about Tao is speak less about certainty than to suggest a mystery. But this mystery can be learned about, cooperated with, aligned with, and intuited. So with these introductory words in mind, let me suggest the what, the when, the where, the who, and the how of Tao. First, what is Tao? Everything, but one is unable to speak it. Tao has no proprietary language of its own. Language is just human sounds that have an order for its listeners. Tao was there before language. Before language, Tao was already old, ancient. We could use the Hebrew prophet Isaiah's words to demonstrate the difference and the distance between Tao's realm and the human realm. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor your ways my ways. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. It's Isaiah chapter 55. So we can only listen for and trust Tao's power. We cannot speak Tao's name, but might we be able to hear or sense it? What might Tao sound like if we cannot put words or frame it with words? Bees working in the garden. Spring's brilliant colors and hues. The forest's soundscape. The ecosystem of a field. Water speaking its fluid, fluent sounds to all who will take time to listen. Cries of pain, surprise, anguish, laments of oppression, various sounds, all these, with many accents, but each fluid, fluent. They're all sounds of Tao at work. So why this emphasis on wordless? Words are human explanations for processes we don't always understand. Does the word God produce any understanding or even the presence of God? We human beings can only have human experiences, but we cannot have other species' experiences. We cannot experience what a plant does, or the weather, or the ocean at its tremendous depth and force. Words are just and only for human affairs. I wish I could have go back and retranslate verse 1 this way, but the Chinese characters won't do it. Words are just and only for human affairs. But that's the sense of it. You see, as William S. Burroughs said, language is a virus. Language infects, and then it degrades the host. It multiplies, crowding out pre-existing silence, and it gets in the way. So it sickens, it obstructs. Words lead to only one thing, and that's more words, which transmogrify into dogma, rules, shoulds, must nots. Is this any way to live? When is Tao? In a word, now. Always and ever now. True melancholy, I think, lies in living in the past. Certifiable anxiety lies in living in the future. The only moment that can be lived is the present moment, and the edges of the present moment are contiguous with past and future, and empower the past and future, not vice versa. It's the now that we live in. It's the here in which we can only be. It is only in the this that we have our best relationships. So when is Tao? Let me ask it a better way. When is Tao not? Tao is in this moment. It's utter fullness and promise. Pay attention then to what's now. Pay attention to what's here. Pay attention to whatever is in this time and space. That this now and this here and this bring us to the very doorstep of Tao. Where is Tao? In a word, here. I do not speak to assure you as a Christian minister might that Tao never leaves you. While that may be true, there's an obligation on my part never to forget or leave Tao. Tao is ever presenting and present, though never twice the same. If Tao is in everything, and everything is in itself created by and brought to maturity by Tao, then Tao is in the everywhere and the wherever. That Tao is here is a sign of good hope. Thomas Merton, in his translation of the Chuang-Tzu, writes, "Where is Tao? Nowhere is it not found. It is in the ant. It is in the weeds. It is in the turd. Tao is great in all things, complete in all, universal in all, whole in all." Or as verse 14 in Tao Te Ching reminds us, one can look for the invisible, but never discover it. One can listen for the soundless, but never hear it. One may try to grasp the immaterial, but never touch it. We possess no inquiry into these three. I guess if we had an inquiry, a line of inquiry, we would start to claim, possess, and even pretend to understand Tao. One divergent and maybe unique method I've used in my book has been to emphasize that Tao is original peace, original completeness, original order. Tao is capital N nature left to its own devices without interruption. And this can be trouble. Tao is very much capital T trouble to scheming, ego-assisted competition, violence of any unnecessary sort. Tao is going to be troubling to war. Because Tao is original peace, participating in Tao, wherever one is, means good trouble to bad injustice, interruption for violence, a wise caution to war. So to those dedicated to social justice, that Tao is here is reassuring. That the purposes of creation are intended for peace, harmony, completeness, to restore all creation to its original intent and wholeness. And it all happens right now, right here, right in the this. Now, here, this. Everything we perceive or can perceive is already Tao connected, already infused with Tao. The workers for social justice are like the greatest image in Tao Te Ching. For the Tao itself is like this image, which is water. Water, what does water do? It collects and nourishes from below. Water seeps down in otherwise unreachable cracks of injustice, where it bathes those cracks first, and then it wears away the hard places. Water can extinguish fire, so it's a kind of nirvana, which literally means in Sanskrit to extinguish or blow out desire. Water is humble, flowing, never hard. There's power in water. So the image of water for Tao is apt. It's colorless, but it makes color possible. It's tasteless, but enables taste. It has no fragrance, but is an aid to making fragrance possible. Tao is not fast. We are conditioned by our human nature to go fast, to do more, enlarge, and do these speedily, like yesterday. But Tao is not hurried. Its pace is wise, encompassing, and when it moves with the entire universe in mind. The best we can do is to be present to its ever-presence. Who is Tao? This could be tricky, for we in the West tend not to identify flesh and blood with the very core ways of the universe. We like to put spirit, not flesh, on these very core powers. The one Tao is hard to conceive in our hierarchical ways of thinking. It's hard to conceive as consonant with every particle creation. Tao is contiguous to and within each particle. And Tao is actually all and everything of creation. The better way to reframe this question of who is Tao is, who is not Tao? The answer, no one. No single creature, no matter their circumstances, their origins, what they've done, can do anything to remove themselves wholly and entirely from Tao. Not a thing one can do. Not a thing one can think or hope for. It's impossible for the politician or the worst criminal or the tiniest one-celled creature or plant to remove itself or get removed from Tao. And this, of course, is going to bring up ethics. Can one's actions, while out of sync with Tao, remove one forever from it? No. One can perform the most heinous crimes in action or mind or in spirit, but one cannot shoot free of one's original source. And this brings me great hope that this incomprehensible and impossible removal from Tao, which cannot occur, mean there's hope in this unshakable connection that we share to Tao. Hope that we can return as easily as we thought that we could leave Tao. Oh, we may think we're finished with Tao, but is the Tao finished with us? Who is Tao? The real question is, who is not Tao? The next question, how is Tao, has several parts to it. How does Tao work? By emptying and reversing. In a few words, Tao operates silently, out of sight, by emptying, by reversing, which spells with a hyphen. Let's look at these words separately. Silently. The theologian Barbara Brown Taylor says only an idle answers. That is, only those who don't answer and just yammer away, they're the people who talk. Yammer, yammer, yammer. Tao is as silent as shadow, and loyal as one too. For example, how can you get your skittish pet to respond and come to you? Hardly by loudly cajoling it to come, come, come. No, just sitting quietly. You see, silence, I think, is the gateway to all possibilities. Second concept here, out of sight. Tao manifests itself behind the scenes, away from news cameras. As I write in verse 42, so far behind the scenes is Tao's creation and virtue's cooperations that to tinker with them, whether intentionally through well-meaning science like CRISPR technology, or ignorantly by burning through our carbon, is to risk disaster. Tao is so non-conceptual that it has no form, only latency. And you can't see latency. You can see blatancy. It's out of sight. Next one is emptying. Tao, being the feminine force that she is already empty like a womb. What is it empty of? Ego, desire, competition, scheming, and a million other things. The things that we just love to add and multiply within ourselves and think that we're getting richer because of it. But empty of all these things, Tao can then give birth to every goodness and peace. Part of verse 5 reads this way. Tao functions like an emptied center between heaven and earth, acting here as a bellows to stoke fire, or there as a flute to sound music. One can never exhaust these emptied spaces of their variations and gifts. What will run dry is chatter trying to reckon with this mystery. Where is your place? In this silent center. And verse 11 has these wise words. Fashionable all the day long, but its inner emptiness, not its outer art, gives it its function. A house's empty center makes it livable. Likewise, the empty center of a window or door frame, what's not there adds function. Otherwise, how would you get home? Form has its place, but emptiness serves. So in summary, how does Tao work? In skilled ways. In verse 27, this skill is amplified as adeptness, excellence, being trustworthy, and authenticity. Tao uses these skills behind the scenes in everything. And that's how things change for the best. That's how things last. But it's mysterious, this Tao. Tao is only discovered intuitively, as verse 21 says. What is this Tao? It's entirely non-conceptual. Its essential nature is known only by its latent forms and elusive feel. How very hidden and obscure is its essence and core. Yet within this latency lies its core life force. Since ancient times until today, Tao's effects have never been absent. We bear witness to how Tao causes and charges all things. How do I know this? Intuition. Tao is always leaving a quiet tracing of its ways. But we conveniently forget that every moment, every particle of creation, every alive and dead item is ever and forever Tao infused. We forget that until hopefully something happens to bring us around to memory. You see, a fish never remembers what water is until it's beached. We can get so self-hypnotized. In final conclusion, Tao is not didactic force, not a evangelical energy, It will not try to persuade you to be its follower. You're already there. And what you learn about Tao is a unique program with your name and no other on it. And we'll speak on that topic soon. However, as Earth Day draws near, the next Sounding Tao Talk will focus on creation, spirituality, and Taoism. In the meantime, you may leave a comment on this video or write to me at the email on your screen. May you find power for peace in the living of your days. Thank you.